We've all heard a lot about stock markets, but what exactly is a stock market? Well, picture this. Let's say it's 1890 and you're a farmer who just develops a new strain of grain that's weather resistant. It works really well and it's quite popular. You decide to sell it. Well, you put it up for sale on your farm and farmers travel from all over to come to buy it. You expect a few to show up, but several dozen show up. They're all bidding to buy the product. What do you think happens to the price? It goes up. But let's say on the flip side of that, you develop a strain of grain that at the end of the day doesn't work as well as you expected. Initially, the value of your shares goes up, or the value of your product goes up as there was demand, but after people find out the product doesn't work, demand decreases and your share value would fall. So it's important to find companies that are developing unique products and generating a real profit to enhance your share value. The stock market is a gathering place that brings buyers and sellers together. Back in the old days, there was actually a physical location or a market where traders would show up and buy and sell investments all day long of various types. You've seen the pictures on TV. They were often chaotic at the best of times, hundreds of traders yelling and screaming out orders. But for hundreds of years, that's how they got things done, and it worked fairly efficiently. Nowadays, that's not the case. You used to be able to buy shares through your bank or your broker, but today you can purchase stock through your computer. And at the click of a button, you can invest your funds within seconds. Now, every major country has a stock market. The TSX, or the Toronto Stock Exchange, is the major market here in Canada. Back in the day, you used to be able to show up to the TSX, and it was an open pit with traders yelling out orders as I just described. But today, you can still view the trading floor. It's simply just filled with computers. In the United States, the largest market is the New York Stock Exchange. Here's a really good example of how a stock market actually works. Let's say a group of your peers decided to open a tutoring business. But they ran it for a year with marginal profits, and they wanted to improve things. They have some options. They could buy new space and increase the size of the operation. They could bring on new tutors, or they could even increase their technology, all of which cost money. They need funding. Well, that's where the investors come in. They would approach their friends and say, look, we've got a business here and you have a chance to get involved. They would sell them shares. Maybe it's $1 a share. After that year, maybe the business is making a profit. They use that money to increase the space and they were able to put through more students. Revenues went up. The demand on your shares should also increase as profit goes up. More of your friends want to buy the shares. But what if it didn't work out? What if you put all your money into new space and yet that didn't increase revenues? Your investors got antsy and decided that they wanted to get out of your company. They wanted to sell your shares. They would have to sell them on a stock exchange.
That makes sense. So is there only one stock market to invest in?
Great question. There are actually many different types of stock exchanges. Companies that have shares listed on a stock exchange are called publicly owned or publicly traded corporations. Those that don't have shares available on any exchange are privately held or privately owned. Those are typically mom and pop type organizations. But most of the companies that you know and recognize are national in size, and at some point, they've likely had to go to investors and issue shares for financing. Locating how to invest in those companies is done by ticker symbol. A ticker symbol is a 2, 3, or a 4-letter acronym for the company. A good example is Google. Google's ticker symbol is GOOG, or Procter & Gamble. Procter & Gamble's symbol is PG. So the ticker symbol is used to help find the company on the stock exchange to make sure you're buying the right company. The full name is not listed when you buy a stock. Sometimes you can't find the company that you want to buy or you can't find the product, and that's because they're not actually issuing shares. They're owned by what's called a parent company. Procter & Gamble is a good example of this. They own several companies that make products that we use every day, but we can't buy shares in those particular companies. They're owned by Procter & Gamble, which is the parent company, and you can buy shares in that organization. The issue with that is that you're not essentially buying the particular product that you like. You're buying a company that owns a number of businesses, so there are potential risks with that. With all of these types of stock markets, it's important that they follow a basic set of rules and regulations. These rules and regulations are put in place to ensure markets operate efficiently and orderly, and to ensure all investors operate within the rules. These rules and regulations are actually put in place by regulatory bodies, essentially market watchdogs. Their job is to help put in a framework that provides a comfort level for investors. They feel safe. Everybody from the governments to corporations to investors have a vested interest to ensure that markets operate within legal guidelines. Without this regulation, markets would be much more chaotic and much more risky, greatly limiting their appeal. and essentially limiting the amount of investors in the marketplace. And since we all need to invest, that's simply a non-starter. Markets have to be well regulated. Canada has a history of being one of the most innovative countries when it comes to market regulation and has a reputation of being one of the safest places to invest in the entire world. If you're a publicly traded company whose shares trade on an exchange, you are mandated by the regulators to provide and disclose all important data and information on your company as soon as it's known. This helps level the playing field so that investors all have the same information and can make the same decisions based on the same data at the same time. Some company information remains confidential regardless. Trade secrets. Now, if you're caught in possession of this information and you use it to make a profit, that's called insider trading. You shouldn't be in possession of that knowledge and you shouldn't have made a profit on it. That's that in-level playing field. A famous insider trading case actually happened to Martha Stewart. In 2006, Martha Stewart was friends with a CEO of a large biotech company in the United States. The CEO had called Martha several months prior, told her to buy the shares, that it was a good idea, a good investment at the time, and that they were going to release results on a new cancer drug in a couple months and that they expected the results to be quite positive. Well, 2 days before the release, the CEO was in possession of information that the results were not going to be positive and likely when released would hurt the stock. He then called his friend Martha Stewart, told her to sell the stock before the news was released, get out of it today, and save herself the pain of when the news was released and the stock would fall. She used that information, she acted on it, and she sold prior to the news coming out. That was insider trading, and she got caught. In this video, we learned the stock market is a gathering place that brings buyers and sellers together. Issuing stock can help a business grow by buying more space, upgrading technology, or adding more employees. Companies listed on a stock exchange are given a ticker symbol, usually 3 or 4 letters from the company's name. The stock market is governed by regulatory bodies to make sure everybody acts within a defined set of rules. It is illegal to use insider information to generate a profit. Good luck and have fun.